So please copy that down.
Why do I have to crush it? Oh, and you better start using it, cause what I saw last Thursday was a kid. Yeah, well,
No, this also asking to be addressed, I don't know, where do I go, where's it at?
I'm gonna have her.
I just emailed her now, so I don't know when she's gonna email me back.
Okay, I'll text her.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, make sure we have this written down. And then, I'd like you guys to also write this down, please. Gross pay equals your pay rate. Okay, times, this X means times, hours worked. Samara, can you see from there?
A little bit, I'm gonna move.
Okay. I think the last thing I want you guys to write, this. Deductions, okay, equals a percent of gross pay. Okay, make sure you write this down. Josh, you copy this down?
Yeah, hold on. Production.
Equals percent of gross pay. Gene? And then lastly, we're gonna write this example. This is an example of deduction, okay? Example of deduction. Okay, let's say federal tax, that's a deduction, federal tax is 3% of gross pay. That means federal tax equals 0.03 times gross pay. And that's the last thing you guys will write. Just like that. Well, worst case scenario, we already recorded it, so.
Yep.
If you guys are finished writing this, just raise your hand. Or you know what? I'll give you guys 5 minutes to write it. And I'll just ask you guys. 5 minutes. Why don't we answer some questions? Can we answer some questions?
Yeah.
Okay, I know Caitlin said she wanted to go over number 14. Does anybody else, is there any other question? Maybe you guys would like me to go over?
Number 10.
Number 10? Alright, why don't we do number 10? And then we'll do number 14, okay? Alright, so number 10, go ahead and read that question, Ronald.
Okay, after all the federal and state declarations are taken out, any net monthly income is?
Very good. So, how much is federal deductions? You gotta figure out how much federal deductions is. So how can we figure that out?
Multiply, I guess?
Do we multiply?
We
Okay.
add all the numbers.
We add on, what numbers are we adding up?
All the 221.65, the 123.24, and 28.9.
And what do we call each of those? What's the name for each of those?
Tax,
Yeah, but like more specifically?
deduction,
What name do you see there for each one, like for each specific one? Next to the 221, like what's it called? 221.65.
federal income tax,
Federal income tax. So you add federal income tax, you're gonna add social security tax, you're gonna add Medicare tax. We'll do that first. Add all those up to get the total amount of federal deductions. Uh-huh. Yeah, oh, is there no more calculators?
There's a white one.
Then I have an extra calculator here, if anyone needs a calculator. So, yeah, go ahead and add up all the federal deductions, the federal income tax, social security tax, and Medicare tax. Can somebody tell me the answer to that? Somebody besides Caitlin, I'll come back to Caitlin for another question. Somebody besides Caitlin.
Did you add those up to figure out the tax?
Yeah. Yeah, but I got that one, so.
Yep, Josh?
So 105, so 1,500, 65 and 92 cents.
Okay, how did you get 1,500, you said 65 and 92 cents?
Yep.
How did you get that?
Just adding up all the deductions.
No.
Minusing.
Go ahead, no, you're right, sorry.
1,975.
Okay. We're just simply adding the federal deductions. Caitlin, you wanna,
I got
You shouldn't have to start over.
$374.33.
okay, and how did you get that?
Because I added up all the federal tax.
Right, so all you have to do is add up all the numbers you see under the federal deductions section. That will be the federal income tax, social security, and Medicare tax. You just add those up.
What is
Push
it,
this
what
one,
is it
and
again?
it will clear just the screen.
374.33.
So number 9 is B. So she got B for number 9 essentially. So make sure to circle B for number 9. I'll put it here on the board. Number 9 is B. And now we have to figure out how much state deductions we're taking out. How do we figure that out? The total amount of state deductions taken out, how do we figure that out? Caitlin?
Add up the state deductions to $35.20.
Yep, so she's gonna add up the state income tax and the state unemployment insurance and disability insurance. Add those up, please, on our calculator. 35 and 20.50. And somebody besides Caitlin, tell me the answer to that?
Oh, yeah, I think
Yeah? We're at number 10. We just answered number 9 right now. We got that it was B. And we're answering number 10 right now.
Oh, you got number 9, right?
Yeah, we got number 9 already. 9 is B. Huh? So state deductions is 55.20, how much? 50? So I'm just gonna note it here. I'm gonna note it to myself, state deductions. Okay, is equal to 55.50. Okay? So what's the question asking? So after federal and state deductions are taken out, we know that federal deductions was how much? The total amount of federal deductions, how much was that?
$374.33.
How much?
$374.33.
There we go. So if this is taken out, and this is taken out, and by the way, what's the gross pay for this person? Each month, what's the gross pay? Where do we find that?
You're right, Ron?
What does gross pay mean again?
Yeah, you know what the gross pay is?
What does it mean what does gross pay mean?
Take away,
Huh?
take away.
No, what's the gross pay? What's the definition of gross
So
pay?
the money you earn for deductions.
The money you earn before deduction. So how much does Andy earn each month? Where can we find out the paper?
$1,995.35.
At the very top, it says it right there at the very top. You guys look at the very top, it says Andy earns how much? Thank you, Caitlin.
$1,995.75.
$1,995.75. So we know that's the gross pay for him, right? That's the gross pay. So if these deductions are taken out, what's left? That's what number 10 is asking. You take out this and take out this from here, what's left? And that'll be your net pay.
I don't see that.
Huh? Yeah, so if you take out this
You added,
and this from this, what do you have left?
you added the two numbers together, the two top numbers, did you add those together? Try that. Where, you know? $55.50. You didn't put your decimal in between the 55. It, 50, that's $374, 374, and 32 cents. Okay, so that number, you subtract from the gross pay. From the gross pay, so just hit subtract.
You got number 9 right, at least.
And
Okay, so what was the total deductions?
this.
All the
gross
deductions,
pay.
you see the deductions here? So what's the total?
No decimal.
Okay, you have to add all those numbers up, so add all those numbers up.
995.
And then after you add them up, you know that the gross pay is here, so how do you find net pay? Look back at your notes.
75.
Net pay equals what? Well, I said gross pay.
Don't look at this. You see the answer there? There you go. Okay, so on these numbers,
Huh?
the comma and
Got it?
decimal,
Okay.
two different things. They don't
Okay,
give you a
and
comma
we're gonna have,
on here.
Samari share the answer for number 10. Go ahead, Samari.
Leave it one. Okay? Pretend it's not there. When you're-
1,565.92. So number 10 should be D.
When you're entering it.
And Samari, can you explain to us how you got that answer, please?
So, first, what I did is I added, 55.50 to 374.
Yep.
And then I added those, and I deducted those from the rest.
Deducted and there was another way to say deducted. Yep. Say it again. Don't say deducted or.
Deducted or subtracted.
You guys hear that? She deducted or subtracted. Very good way of using those words, because they mean the same thing. When you deduct, you subtract. When you subtract, you deduct. That's what deductions are, just something subtracted from your gross pay. Okay? So that's number 10. You just add up all your deductions that you have here and subtract it or deduct it from your gross pay. Thank you, Samari. So 10 should be D, okay? Okay. So what else do we say we're gonna work on?
14.
Number 14, let's go to 14.
14 and 15, right?
You said 14 and 15? Okay. Okay, so can somebody, Caitlin, can you read number 14 for us?
You got your first paycheck and you were excited to see that it was more than you thought. You forgot to figure in tips. As a buster, your employee adds 5% for your tips to your gross pay as income. With tips, how much is your net pay?
Okay, now 5% of tips is simply 5% of your gross pay added back to your gross pay. 5% of your gross pay added back to your gross pay, okay? Can I erase this?
Yeah.
Alright, let me erase this. And let's just walk it down, slowly, we'll take it one at a time. So, how much is this person, and we're still on Andy, we're talking about Andy, all these questions are all about Andy. So, how much well, Caitlin, go ahead.
I have a question. Never got Andy, then what's this?
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's not about Andy. We're gonna go off number 12, that's what I was thinking about. Okay, number 12, we're gonna use number 12 to find the gross pay, okay? Let's use number 12. So, on number 12, what's the pay rate? And let me just put this back up here. Gross pay equals pay rate, okay, times hours worked. So really quickly, number 12, can somebody tell me what the pay rate is? What do you see for the pay rate? Just number 12 really quickly. So let's go ahead and read number 12. Can somebody read number 12 for me? Janaya, go ahead.
Okay, you are making $7.90 an hour. You be working 20 hours per week, Thursday through Sunday, 5 hours each day. What is your gross pay for 1 week?
Very good, thank you. And what's going on here, guys? Each question kind of ties into each other. It's like telling a story, kind of. So before we can answer number 14, we have to know what number 12 is, because it's like in chronological order. So that's why I'm going back to number 12. Thank you, Janaya. So what's the pay rate, Janaya, for number 12?
$7.90.
Very good. So we're calculating the gross pay currently. So we're gonna answer number 12 really quickly. We know the pay rate, as Janaya said, is 7.90, okay? Times the amount of hours worked, okay? So number 12, how many hours was worked?
It's not per week or per?
Say it again?
Come up per week or?
Per week,
20 hours.
20 hours. So on our calculator, what two numbers are we timesing? You can tell me besides Janaya.
Oh, I got my answer. I got the answer.
Okay, I'm gonna come to you for the answer, but what two numbers are we timesing?
We are typing, 7.98 times 20.
Very good. And Janaya, what's the answer?
158.
158?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's $158. So that's number 10. Number 10 is $158. I mean, number 12. Number 12 is $158, okay? So make sure you write that down for number 12. Okay, now back to number 14. We know that the person makes 5% for tips. That's gonna be 5% of the gross pay. How do you figure out a percentage of something? Look back at your notes that we wrote earlier. How do you find a percentage of something? What do you have to do? Yeah, how do you do that? Percentage of a gross pay, for instance. What do you do? Turn into a decimal, very good, and then do what? Times it with the gross pay. So let's turn 5% to a decimal. What does 5% look like as a decimal?
0.05.
0.05, and what's the gross pay in this case?
158.
So can we times those two numbers, please? 0.05, and this is number 14 we're going over. 0.05 times 158.
Oh, I got it.
Nine?
7.9.
7.9. Wow, that's really?
Yeah.
Is it really 7.9? Really? Let me see something real quick. That's interesting.
I'm double checking.
Yeah.
It is,
See? Okay.
Ms. Tracy,
that's it, right?
Ms. Tracy.
Yeah.
With tips, that's typically how tips work, right? Isn't it part of your gross pay? Because I don't see anything else that's talking about what the tips is. And I believe that is part of just your gross pay. You know, it's a percentage of the gross pay.
I think usually it's just more than 5% though.
It should be more than just 5%.
Usually like, when tipping, when the tip can be, well, I see what you're saying. Can be up to 15%, I think that's why you're usually used to seeing bigger numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just ironic or coincidental that it's the same rate of pay.
You know, since they didn't give us enough information about how much, like, they didn't give us enough information, let's just go off this. So this is the tips, thank you, Janaya. And then we're gonna simply add this back to our gross pay, okay? So, because, since this person also gets paid tips, their total gross pay is actually this. It's 158 plus the tip. So let's do that on a calculator, please.
Hey, I got the info.
Go ahead, Ronald.
I got $16.59.
$16?
And 59 cents.
Okay, so you did 158 plus 7.90.
Yes.
Do it one more time. 158.
158.
Okay, Samara?
Don't, you got an extra decimal.
Should be, okay, that sounds a little bit closer. 165 point what?
90.
Point 90.
Hey,
Okay,
I
so-
was right for the first time.
You just had your decimal in the wrong spot, it sounds like.
Oh, you said 16.
Yeah, that's okay, yeah.
But you were right, Ronald. Just gotta be careful with that decimal, okay? But you were right also, okay?
Alright.
So 165.90 is the actual true gross pay, okay? This is the true one. Because it's gross pay plus tips. Is everybody with me?
Yeah.
Plus tips, okay. Now, how do we figure out net pay?
Nothing equals gross, subtract deduction.
Yeah, so now we have to go back to number 13 to find the deductions.
Okay.
So that's it, so you guys see what I mean? So for us to answer each question, we have to answer the questions before it, because it's like a timeline. So we need to figure out what number 13 is. I'm gonna have you guys do that on your own real quickly. Just calculate the deductions. You guys have the gross pay already, right? Gross pay is this.
Yes.
So we gotta figure out the deductions then. For, yeah, yep, and then you're gonna add them all. Yeah. Yeah,
So, then this one,
yeah,
and then
yeah, so you have, yeah, it's gonna be a percentage of this.
Okay.
So what's 15% of this? How you gonna figure that out? Times in it with what? You have to do this first.
That's
0.15 times this, and that will give you that deduction. Are you gonna carry on? So we're on number 13 really quickly. You have your gross pay. And looking off your notes that you wrote, you know that deductions is simply a percent of the gross pay. So what percent are we seeing for this one? So we gotta do 15%. So but then what do we do first? Like the examples, we do what? So, you see how, huh? Yeah, like you see the example, we have 3%, but then we change it to what? To a decimal. So we gotta change this to what? And then times it with 165. You wanna do that? Have you calculated number 13?
No, I didn't know.
I don't know, I don't have an issue. So like,
Oh.
I was looking at the 158, so if you times it by like 15%, which is where kind of normal tipping for, as a customer, it's like $23, so that's probably what you're thinking in your head. But, usually, as tips, you leave a tip,
Right.
it gets dispersed, it doesn't go straight to that one person, cause it gets some of it gets dispersed to the people that clean the tables.
Oh, okay.
And I think even sometimes the,
So you split that 50% up? Oh, okay. So
in
that's-
some places, yeah, cause,
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking that person
Yeah.
that collects the dishes at.
Yeah, the buster.
Yes, thank you. And sometimes I think they include, the front of the house too, the hostesses. But
Okay.
some places don't, some places do. It's weird. So anyways,
Okay. Yeah, so there you go, so you're gonna write FICA equals $24.88. Yeah, yep, so you're gonna write FICA equals 24.88. And do for the next one, so you add all of them up? Okay, very good. Okay, yeah, so let's continue, just so now, what you're gonna do is, now that you got this,
So,
we're gonna figure out
number
the net
13.
pay. So you have your gross pay,
did you
you
figure
have your
out
total
the
deductions, how do you figure out the net pay?
income tax?
Yep.
The federal tax,
You gotta put on
the
14.
FICA and the Medicare?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's, when you finish, I'm gonna trust you to try 15 on your own, since you should have enough information. If you remember, this is chronological. Yeah, so try it out. Well, do you get your answer first? Let's get your answer first, and then we'll talk about it.
You guys gotta try some of these on your own a little bit.
So the gross pay is 165.90, right?
Hmm?
The gross pay is 165.
Yes, 165.90, huh?
Subtract it from that now.
Yep. Well, how you doing back there?
Done.
You done? Okay, who's done figuring out the deductions for each one?
Talk about the percent.
Percentage, yeah, for each one. I know you did FICA, carry on, you did, and then, how about the other two?
The 1.65.
Uh-huh.
You do that times the, times by about.
So you know how the first one, you changed this to a decimal, 0.15, and you times it with your gross pay, which got you 24. Let's do the same thing for this one, 6%. How do you change that to a decimal, 6%? Divide by 100, right? So divide 6 by 100 to get you the decimal first. How are we doing, Josh?
Oh yeah, good so far. It's, have we done 13 yet?
We're doing it right now?
Oh yeah, bro.
Yep.
Alright.
So how you gonna do the first one? The 15%?
Yep, number 2.
Yeah.
Alright, hold on.
I'll be right back.
So you just need to figure out what 60%
Okay,
of
so you got your gross
the
pay? So
gross pay is, right?
You got the gross pay without the tips. Now I want you, so this is good. I want you to add this to this,
Right.
to figure out your total gross pay.
So it's 0.06 times the gross pay.
I think, which you already did. Yeah, so write this down at 165.90.
Times the gross pay. No, where's the gross pay? No, where's the gross pay?
Very good. Now you have your total gross pay, right?
Here's your gross pay.
Now you have to figure out each deduction.
Gross pay.
So look back at your notes, how do you figure out deductions?
Okay? Cause that's how you figured out this one,
That's right.
right?
How do you, then, you write the example of percent, so for instance, 3% of the
But
gross
that's the
pay, you're
gross
gonna
pay
change it
that
to a
you
decimal.
I don't have a worksheet.
Times it with the gross pay, so change that to a decimal,
So if that's what
and
it's
times it
gross
with your gross pay.
pay, then use the 165. okay? Just times it by the 0.06, and that'll tell you the tax for the FICA.
Yeah. Mhm. Very good, yep, yep.
65 and 90 cents.
That's times it.
So that's your FICA. This is just like when we were doing it, we've done these on the other sheet of paper, okay?
Yep, yep. There we go, so you're gonna write here, you actually never go to right now, so you say FICA equals
And then
$24
you do the
and
same thing
80
for the
cents.
Medicare. Turn that
FICA.
into a decimal, and
How we
then
doing?
multiply it by the $165.
Okay, now I just want you to try and tackle 15, we're gonna go over number 14 in a minute, but try and tackle 15, okay?
Yeah.
This is correct.
Yes.
You have been
So
at a
that's
job
not
for
your
your
answer.
answer to your
Okay?
yes, supervisor.
We're figuring
pointed
out all
but
the
you
different
never participated
deductions,
in
how much it
work
is,
experience.
and then we're gonna add
And
those
you
together.
asked for a raise of 50 cents
and
per
then
hour,
subtract it from the gross
and got
pay
it,
to
what is
get
your new
net
gross
pay.
pay for 1 week?
Divide the-
So, let's go back to your pay rates, this is increased to 50 cents now.
Correct?
So what would your new pay rate
And that'll
be?
give you another answer, and then you're gonna add all three.
You're gonna have to add
For deductions.
0.50 to this.
Uh-huh.
You know, I mean, yeah, that's my argument.
So do I do
Very much.
this one?
Yep, this is next. So 6, that means 6. How are you gonna change 6 to a decimal? What does 6 look like as a decimal? 0 point what? And you know a trick is just divide it by 100. You can divide it by 100 to get the answer. That's your pay rate, $8.40. You're gonna times it by how many hours, he still works 20 hours a week, right? So you're gonna do that. There you go, and plus the tips now. Tips is what? How much is tips? It's 5% of this, so what's 5% of that?
Oh.
Yeah, I'm just seeing
Yeah.
how that calculator works.
Oh, no worries, I'll be right there.
I put it in my mind.
I'm gonna add that back to
If I put in 6,
gross pay
and
that
I
you just got.
push the,
Here, I'm right there.
it turns it into a decimal.
Go, so you're gonna have to, so do 8.40 again, times 20. Get your gross pay, write that down.
But it doesn't do it.
Write it down somewhere safe. Okay, and now you're gonna add the tip to it, so remember how much the tips were? So add that to the gross pay.
8.40 plus that.
Yeah. Alright, so you got this so far, pretty good. Now what is 6%? 6.0 means 6%. How do you change that to a decimal? Like how you did here, you know you did 0.15? How do you change that to a decimal? Do you know how you got that? What you did without even thinking about it, you divided 6 by 100 to get that. What? What did I calculate? Do 6 divided by 100. See? Good, so now we're gonna times it back with your gross pay.
Alright, so just gotta do the Medicare. Okay? So if you, open your calculator on your phone.
Is it nine?
I'll show you.
So you're gonna write
Now put
Medicare
in
equals
1.65.
Wait,
Now push this.
wait, what's 50%? It's not FICA. This is FICA, this is
Converts it
FICA.
for you.
This is federal tax, sorry, yeah. Razor, yes.
Where's at the end of the process, like, you sure?
Yeah,
You sure?
you sure, Ms. Burton?
Seeing if Samari brought her, I didn't, it's still at home.
So that's, so $9.95. Okay.
Is that the tips?
Okay, so just a tip plus.
Oh, okay,
You can
yeah,
build
you
off the
got
last
it.
number.
You got
So
it.
just add
You
all
got
three
it.
together.
I'm gonna maybe
So
help,
995,
have you walk number 15 with me.
88.
Oh, I didn't finish.
Thank you for, Kayla, for.
To redo it.
Okay.
Alright. That's good.
That's why.
Yeah, and this is federal taxes, sorry, this is federal taxes, this is FICA, so now you're just gonna do Medicare next. Then that's good, yeah, times it, yep, yep.
Oh, she's gone.
Okay, and then does this show how much time I've been recording on the phone?
Yeah, 36
Okay,
minutes.
we can stop it. Perfect, thank you, Ms. Tracy.